Hello and good evening. We are continuing in Mitzvah Hashem, learning Sipur the story of the Burgher and the Pauper. And let's just, get to the text and read some and see what we can find here. So we said after the Burgher has saved the Pauper's wife, he was blessed with a son, and the Pauper's wife was blessed with a daughter who was so beautiful, extraordinary, unique, to the point that all the ministers wanted to get married with her or their sons. So being that it's not proper for them to marry someone with such a low station, therefore they needed to make an effort to raise the pauper status, arrange for the paupers to get an appointment, emperor's service, first as a lieutenant, afterwards higher and higher, because they hasten his promotion every time. So he rose every time very higher and higher. Then became a general. At this point, the ministers wanted to go ahead and contract a marriage with him, but it was difficult since many ministers all wanted to do this, and many had secured his promotion. Therefore, he could not make a match with anyone. Besides, he could not make a match with them because of the Burgher, since he had already stated that his daughter should be matched with him. And once the pauper became a general, he became more successful. The emperor sent him to battles, and he was victorious each time. So the emperor promoted him still higher, and continuously higher and higher. He was always very successful. And then the emperor died, and all the citizens decided that the pauper should be the new emperor. When the ministers met, they all agreed that he should be the emperor, and the person who had previously been the pauper thus became the emperor. And he fought wars and very successful and conquered many lands. And he fought more wars and was always victorious, continually making conquests, until all the other lands decided that they will willingly subjugate themselves to him because they saw his great success, since he had all the beauty in the world, as well as every possible good fortune. So all the kings therefore met together and decided he would be the emperor over the entire world. They gave him a document written in golden letters. We have read and spoke about it a little bit last time. Let's go read a little bit more and sort of put it together. The emperor, that is the pauper who became emperor all over the world, now did not want to contract a marriage with the Burgher because it's not fitting for an emperor to contract a marriage with a Burgher merchant. However, his wife, the empress, refused to abandon the Burgher. That is, she stood by the Burgher because he risked his life on her account. And the emperor therefore saw that he could not make another match on account of the Burgher, particularly since his wife supported him very strongly. He therefore began to devise a plan against the Burgher. His first move was to impoverish him. And he carried out these schemes as if it was not through him at all, and continuously arranged to do him damage. An emperor constantly has this ability, and he caused the Burgher to continually to suffer losses and business failures until he was impoverished, a complete pauper. And she, the empress, continued to support the Burgher. The emperor realized as long as the son is alive, the Burgher's son, it will not be possible to make another match. So he began to make efforts to do away with the Burgher's son. He devised a plan to get rid of it. He set up false charges and appointed judges to try the case. The judges understood that the empress wants to do away with the young man. So they sentenced him to be placed in the sack and thrown into the sea. Before we continue, let's talk about this. You know, Marina talks in Torah Chavhei 25 how every person needs to extricate himself from the power of imagination and to ascend to the real wisdom. And once he knows what the real wisdom is, he needs to work on it, investigate it, research it, put it into action, and make it his nature. And when it makes it his nature, it becomes who he is. And Beno says that's the only thing that remains from a person after he leaves this world. These are the things, the wisdom that he has made part and parcel of who he is. The main nakuda, the main problem of working with the power of imagination is that imagination obviously make mistakes. And a bigger problem is that imagination mixes up with truth. And instead of that making the imagination more less wild and not as damaging, it actually makes things worse. Chazal said, in the spies that came from Israel and first started with the praises of the land of Israel, that any lie that does not have any grain of truth in it is not sustainable. You can't say, person cannot say, I am the richest man in the world. Like you can say it, to somebody in shul. Let's say that you are wealthy. To say that you're the richest person in the world, I mean, if you're wealthy, then maybe, you never know. If a person is a pauper and he says he's the richest man in the world, money-wise, if you take, a rubber balloon and claim that it's a silver goblet, I mean, it doesn't, it's not sustainable. The only way that a lie is sustainable is if it has a grain of truth in it. So if you have, let's say, a gold-plated goblet, and you say to somebody, listen, this is a gold goblet, the fact that it is gold plated makes it more credible. So that piece of chicanery can exist longer, can deceive more people. If it's actually made of gold, but it's only, let's say, 10 karat gold or 8 karat gold and not 18 karat gold, that's a big difference. But you can't already say that this is not gold. It is gold, just a low level gold, and so forth and so on. What is very popular today is that people say that certain pieces of information are quote unquote fake news. But the truth of the matter is that all the information of the world, unless it is the Das Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Ruach Nevuah of the true tzaddikim, every single piece of information is fake news. They made this incredibly expensive, billions of dollars worth of telescope in space to take pictures of, I don't know what happened to pictures of. So they take pictures, that cannot be seen in a naked eye, and get all kinds of conclusions about the origins of the universe and whatever it is they're hoping to get out of it. Even assuming that everything that they see is true and everything they conclude is true, it's still immaterial. What does it make? It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anyone's life. In fact, the only thing that it enables people to do is to disregard the real purpose of why they live and entertain themselves. And then the power of imagination cooks up a plan of how to justify your cravings under the guise of Torah, mitzvahs. It's called false rachmanos. So, take for example, there was some months ago, there was an attack. A terrorist stabs to death 2 people in Jerusalem, a Palestinian, and then he was a terrorist. He stabbed 2 Jews to death. He was shot by the police. The headline in the Guardian, the English newspaper, and the BBC, the headline read, "A Palestinian killed in an attack that leaves 2 dead." Every single word is true. But what a lie. what an unbelievably vicious lie. Just the arranging of the truth. Yeah, Pasarin was killed. The attack, yeah, it occurred. 2 dead. Okay, we don't know who they are. I mean, the impression that it makes is that somebody attacked and killed this Palestinian in a attack, we don't know who, probably against Palestinians, that left 2 dead. What's the only one who was, in other words, it is extremely easy to lie with the truth. Every single word is true. That's just a position, how you position that. But we're not talking about the BBC or the Guardian or any of those, or the New York Times or any of those. Even the words of Torah that are not subjugated to the das of the tzaddik emes, to an extent, has a bechina of an unrefined power of imagination. There's immense amount of good in it. People become real tzaddikim. When all these kings that we are talking about, these are real tzaddikim. The pauper in our story has a daughter. And that daughter is the grace, the chen of the entire world that comes from the tzidkus of her mother, which is nekudas emes inside the person, which was brought about with tremendous mesirus nefesh of the Burgher, of the tzaddik. You take a look at the pauper in our story. He himself has done nothing. He did nothing. His wife was kidnapped. He did something very important. He cried. And with this, he awakened the Rachmanis of the tzaddik. It's an incredibly important lesson. And now he's a beneficiary of tremendous mesirus nefesh on the part of his wife and the part of the tzaddik, the part of his emunah and his yiddishkeit and the tzaddik. And once you have the chen emes, the entire world works for you. The problem with success is that you suddenly become too big for your britches. Your success, as they said, turned his head. Success turns one head. Unfortunately, when it turns one's head, one is usually not aware that it also wrings his neck. You're successful. Baruch Hashem. The tzaddik has given you a tremendous gift. At least don't make things worse. He didn't do anything. The chen was given to him for free. They took him up from his station. All the tzaddikim put him up so they can get together with him. He didn't work for it. He was elevated. Everything was given to him on a silver platter. He began to believe his own legend. It happens to all of us. You know, I once had a guy come to me. He wanted to talk to me about certain inner conflict that he was in. So he said, you know, he comes from a family that is very nice, modern from family. Father is or was a businessman, working American hours. One brother is really, the mutzlach, and he's nabach, like the runt of the litter, as it were. And he became close to certain group of Breslovers that were led by a guy with a fertile imagination. And he became, very ardent in his belief, became very firm, pious, whole thing. He calls me up and he said, I need an answer from you. I said, what do you need? So he said, I got close through this person and I just found out that he is not what I thought he was. So I said, so what's the problem? He says, well, I thought he was Mashiach. So I asked him, do you still think that he's Mashiach? He said, no. So I asked, so what's the problem? I says, no, I told other people he's Mashiach. I said, did they believe you? He said, no. Do you still believe him? He said, no. So what's the problem? So then, he brought the cat out of the sack. He says, you don't understand. I said, what don't I understand? He said, I also thought that I am Mashiach. So I told him, so did I. I said, do you still think that you're Mashiach? She said, no. So I said, so what's the problem? He said, you don't understand. I said, yes, I do. We all go through these periods. What you don't notice is that you came from a background where everybody was a success to one extent or another, and you were the outcast. That was, and the only way that the tzaddik could have rescued you from this family that is basically, Baruch Hashem, they're good people, but they live in demyonis, they live in an imaginary world. The bigger house you have, the bigger this you have, Baruch Hashem, the good is good, but it's very diluted. The only way to take you away from that to the true seichel was to make you the runt of the litter And for you to be attracted rebelliously to somebody who is totally, you know, imaginative and delusional, and for you to get into the idea that keeping Shabbos and doing things that not just keeping Shabbos, but being into Torah, into mitzvahs, whatever it is something that you do. And now he is taking you out of this particular imagination and is bringing you to the Sechel Amiti. You had to go through this route to become balanced. There's no problem if you thought that you're Mashiach. The only problem is you still think that you're Mashiach. If you thought that you're Mashiach and now you don't, what's the problem? There was no other way that you can get to where you are without being delusional. The Rambam says you can't choose the middle road. When you are on the extreme, you must go all the way to the other extreme in order to end up in the middle, a pendulum. But when somebody is successful, he's the emperor of the world. And he's emperor of the world. We're talking here, the emperor of the world in Torah. The emperor of the world in Tzidkus is a Tzaddik Ador. He's considered to be Tzaddik Ador. Now, for him to get together with a true Tzaddik is humiliating. I should be, I should be miscarved to Rabbeinu. I should be miscarved to Rabbi Nachman. I'm much bigger. Look at me. Look at how many people I have. Look how many people do whatever it is I tell them to do. What an empire I've built. I will now put myself underneath him. So what he wants to do, he wants to do away with the son of the Burgher. The son of the Burgher, we already said, is the Torah of the Tzaddik. Push it away. Push that Torah of the Tzaddik away so it does not threaten your stature. And I'm talking about people who are Gdolei Olam. I'm not talking about, because when you're talking about people on that level, you're talking about huge, huge, huge people, huge tzaddikim. But that's not an nekudas emes. So they want to bury the Torah of the tzaddik in order to keep up their own stature. And they tell themselves the same story, the same mistake that the BBC is making. All the nekudas that they're bringing up to themselves and to others are true. It's just the way that it's juxtaposed that it comes out of line. If it comes out that it's a mitzvah to bury the tzaddik's Torah and throw it away, I don't care how many good reasons you have. It's not going to work. At the end, the Kodesh Baruch Hu brings everything, is using you and everything that you went to and went through to bring the world to its tikkun. This is a very, very important nakuda that the all their stories that the people are hiding the tzaddik, or trying to hide the tzaddik, eventually going to become steps along the right way to bring in Mashiach. But the thing is that what we need to do is that we have to understand that we are under tremendous danger. We are in tremendous danger of fooling ourselves, of telling ourselves, look, it's really, the real thing is that for me to do this and to make believe and explain things away is only going to drive me away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu or from the tzaddikim. And it's not enough just to assume that as long as nobody holds me for a tzaddik. I don't always have to be a tzaddik, so I don't have nothing to worry about. It's not true. It's not true. The thing is that I have to understand that, how they say that according to the justice system, a person is innocent until proven guilty. When it comes to cleaning one's power of imagination, we are all guilty, and we need to be proven all the time innocent, one piece at a time. One piece at a time. Become more innocent, more normal, more truthful, more realistic, more sensible, more balanced, more focused towards our goal, which is to do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, and to be Zercha to the Tachlis, which is the Tachlis Emes. Nothing is sealed and delivered in this world. Everything is done here, but nothing is for here. Nothing is for the 120 years that we spend in this world. Nothing. Everything is determined by it. Oh Hashem. Every nikuda that we're Zercha, oh Hashem. The least we can do is realize that we are guilty and we need to be proven, like, in other words, be cleansed on a constant basis from our own demyonis that we are Mashiach, as it were. Because before you know it, I'm going around in a shirt and pants. I don't walk around with a suit and a hat. And Just figured, this is not, it's a big deal. I'll tell you what the big deal is. I started looking at other people who were wearing coats and hats as they, them. I became anti-Semitic. Not a lot, little, but yeah. We are steeped in fake news. The only way that we can ever hope, to extricate ourselves from that is by seeking the tzaddik. Seeking the tzaddik, constantly seeking the ruach. And obviously, we're not looking for the body of the tzaddik. We're looking for the ruach hakodesh, for the spirit of prophecy of the tzaddik. That cleanses our power of imagination. Let Hashem will stop here. And B'ezrat Hashem, because God should help us, that we should realize that we're crazy. We're simply crazy. But we can become normal if we listen to somebody who is really normal and do what he says. Hashem should help us, B'ezrat Hashem, especially now. And B'ezrat Hashem, Gula Shleim, B'ir Pishech Tzidkenu, B'Rami Amenu, B'ezrat Hashem.